Hey guys, welcome back to the Enlightened Logger channel. Today I'm gonna show you how I fell a tree. There's a lot of different methods. A lot of people do things a little bit differently as far as which cut they make first and how deep and all that. Everybody's got a different take on it, but this is how I typically fell trees. So I'm gonna go through the process. I'm gonna show you what the tree looks like standing and then where I'm gonna make my cuts. So the trees that we're going to be working on are the two codominant tulip poplars there, and then over to the left and behind this cedar there's another one you can see over there, all in the vicinity of like, I don't know, 12 to 14, 15 inches, somewhere in there. So I'm going to pan up quick. Gives you an idea as to how tall these are. All right. So both of these kind of lean over the driveway and they're searching for the light because, as you can see behind us, is full forest. So what I like to do is I make my bottom cut first, and that also helps me set the depth and make sure that I've got my angle correctly. Some people start with their top cut, depending on how hard your lean is on the back. Some people will make those cuts first. Being a codominant, I have to cut it a little higher than I want to, so I'll get both of them down, and then I'll make a nice low cut so I can grind my stump. But I'm gonna start here, and I'm gonna aim for somewhere over in there, which is towards my daughter's hammock. Which we're well out of reach. These trees are probably in the vicinity of, like, I don't know, 70 to 80 feet tall, maybe a little better. The hammock's all of 120, 130 feet away, so we don't have to worry about any damage over there. But I'm trying to avoid this little cedar here and also our raised beds, so I'm gonna directional fell, and if need be, I'll even use the wedges to cheat. Accurate for the first time. I typically don't spend a lot of time cleaning them up. I don't like to spend a lot of time cleaning these up. I know a lot of guys will. The reason that I don't is because of the experience that I've had. I haven't really made a lot of gains. Of course, you know, depending on how precise you have to be with the fell, that makes a lot of difference. But I do a lot of my guiding with, you know, how I leave my hinge in the back side and the timing of my cut, as well as the wedges. So this has the direction that I want. It's going to take us out there. I mean, I could maybe take that back side a little bit more, but I'm going to just leave the meat on the upper side and kind of taper it down here. So I think it'll work out just fine. Left a lot of meat up here. tapered it down here, gave it time to fall right where I wanted it to. Just exactly towards that hammock over there. Now in a lot of cases, I wouldn't leave this much hinge, but again, the reason that I did is because I was so narrow over here, and I didn't know what the heart was going to be. I've had a lot of these recently that were like this. The heart was bad, so that compromises a lot of your hinge. So if the center of your hinge is kind of weak, a little bit extra out here isn't going to hurt anything. And you saw how slow it started to go. Like I said, I like to take my time in these situations. It went exactly where I wanted it to. You can see out there, I'm going to point out to it, way out there towards the end is that hammock. So that's right where I wanted to put it. So this next one, I'm going to do the same thing. Its canopy actually probably wants to lean a little bit more towards the house. It wants to go in that direction, but because the weight's on this side, I can do the same thing. And if we start to get a little walk back or anything like that, I've got the wedges handy. We can cheat a little bit, no big deal. All right, so this guy here, I did exactly as I said I was going to. I left a lot of extra meat here and tapered it down here because I wanted it to pull a little bit away from this cedar tree that's over here and still go in the direction I wanted it to. This one here, as I was making my cut, I felt it drop in here in the center. So I knew my heart was bad. So I left a little bit of extra meat, more than what I normally would, because it's not windy or anything today. But because I felt that drop in like that, I was concerned that my hinge was going to break off. I left less here than I did here because I wanted it to pull in this direction and land right next to the other one. And then I also made my front cut a lot shorter than the back cut. And I did that because we got a small diameter tree, and even though I'm using real short wedges, that bar takes up this much space, and then by the time you start to drive in your wedge, you're running into your chain. So unless I have a fairly large diameter tree, my initial cut out of the front is quite a bit smaller. I know a lot of guys tend to go a little bit deeper, and I think that's because they get better control. There's different theories on, you know, the diameter, how much of a percentage you go in here. A lot of cuts are in the vicinity of a third of your total diameter. This is probably pretty close to that anyway, because, you know, this is about your halfway point anyway. So like I said, you're probably in that vicinity of a third, but because it's such a small diameter, I left quite a bit of space back here so I would have a little bit of room to drive in that wedge to get it to go where I wanted to. So I'm gonna cut those guys up a little bit and give me the chance to grab them with the tractor and put them over the bank here. So stick with me and we're gonna keep rocking. All right, so the last one here is that tulip poplar right there. We're gonna bring him out here and do the same thing, right out into the yard. Not being a co-dominant, I can take him off a lot lower to the ground. Of course, we got Chloe up there, thinks she needs to inject her opinion into every video, so she's always present. So this guy here, because I'm going to be grinding him pretty quick and I don't want to make a lot of extra cuts, I'm going to take him off real low. I'll take him off down here. Normally in the woods, you know, you cut it off, you know, 6-8 inches up, something like that, because you don't want a lot of that extra flare on your saw log. But here it doesn't really matter. Most of the stuff's going over the bank just because of the hearts aren't any good on it, and I don't, you know, that's such a small diameter, it's not really worth it. So I'm going to make my cut here. Might have to use some wedges because this guy wants to lean a little bit too close to the garden, so I'm going to try and put the top right out there on top of those other tops, as you can see out there. All right, so I had a little bit more weight out there than I thought. I left this guy a little narrower than this guy up here. Wanted him to pull in that direction a little bit. It didn't end up quite as far over there as I wanted. I wanted maybe another 4 to 6 feet on that top, but stayed away from the garden, didn't hurt anything up there. And that's because I made the mistake of my angle wasn't right. It fell exactly the way that I cut it. All right, I'm gonna get this guy cut off into a couple of different lengths here. I might be able to get a little bit out of this guy. It's got pretty good sweep in it, so not gonna put a lot of stock in it. I'm just gonna cut this guy here, not measuring it because it doesn't really matter. It's a good practice log when we gotta get on the mill. A couple more cuts, then I'll grab the tractor.